Today, no, I am going to begin with special contracts. Okay, special contracts is a part of your Indian Contract Act only. So, until now, whatever we had done was a part of general contracts. Okay, so general contracts we have completed. Now, special contracts, there are 5 types of special contracts which we are going to do. One is indemnity, B, guarantee. Okay, special contracts now generally start from section 124. Okay, then we have contract of bailment, then pledge and law of agency. Okay, so they're very, very simple, but they are governed specially. It is given separately, all these contracts. So let's begin with A, indemnity, then we will go to guarantee, bailment, pledge and agency. What we need to understand in all these types of contracts, okay, these special contracts, is how they are formed. Okay, the meaning. Once you understand the meaning, everything else like the duties, rights of the guarantor, surety or indemnity, everything falls in place. It is very, very simple. What we need to know is the meaning of how these contracts are formed. Okay, so now what is the contract of indemnity? Section 124 talks about contract of indemnity. Now, what do you mean by indemnity? Indemnity, in simple words, is to make good the loss. Okay, so if a loss is caused to a third party because of the acts you have done, okay, so you are supposed to indemnify that particular party. Okay, so what is how it is written under section 24? Section 24 says it is a contract. It is a contract by which one party promises to save another party from loss incurred or loss caused to him, okay, by the conduct of the promiser himself or by any other party, okay. So this is a contract of indemnity. So say for example, okay, directors of a company, okay, or a particular partner, okay, he wants to get into some kind of a contract with third party, okay, third party contract. He wants to get into in a contract with a very good customer or his client or something. Okay, so now what is the company? The directors are responsible for the company. If any loss tomorrow happens to the company, then what? Who will pay? Right? So here the company generally or the firm, they will take an indemnity bond signed by the director, stating that tomorrow if something goes wrong and this particular party, okay, there is some loss caused to the company or to the firm by the conduct of the director himself or the partner himself or by the third party, then the promisor, that is the person giving the indemnity, the director or the partner, will make good of that loss. Okay, got it here? So with this one example only, contract of indemnity gets over. So here, whenever there is an indemnity, okay, the indemnity holder, under section 125. So say in my case, indemnity holder is the company. Indemnity holder is a company, a corporate body. So that indemnity holder can sue the promisor for all the damages caused, okay, all the cost included for the purpose of filing a case, etc., and any other sum, okay, based on that particular contract. Right? So this is contract of indemnity, simple, section 124 and section 125. All right. Next is B, contract of guarantee. Contract of guarantee. Okay, that is given under section
Ma'am, can you just
126. Yes.
ma'am, can you just back the slide? Like I've missed the upper part.
Yes, sure. You want to copy.
Yeah, yeah, ma'am.
Okay. See. Now it is completely on your screen. Okay. You can copy. Should I scroll more further?
No, ma'am, done,
Done?
completed.
Okay. Now can I move to contract of guarantee? Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Sure. So contract of guarantee under section 26. Okay. Now we'll understand this contract of guarantee. There is one principal debtor. Okay. Now this principal debtor, he is in need of loan. So he goes to the bank or any other creditor. Bank is also known as a creditor. So he is in need of loan. Okay, now bank is saying, no problem, we will give you loan, but just get a guarantee, some surety. In case you default, okay, run away with the money, okay, then whom should we approach? So he comes and he takes a guarantee from here. So there is a guarantor who is also known as a surety. So basically, this is an agreement signed between the three parties for a loan taken by a principal debtor. However, the guarantee for the repayment of this loan is taken by the surety. Okay, so say example. So these are between three parties. Example, A gives loan to B of rupees 5,000, in which C is a guarantor. Okay. So here basically what is C saying? C promises A to repay if default by B. Default is done, committed by B. It's as simple as that. Okay. Contract of guarantee. Now in this contract of guarantee, basically any promise, okay, any promise. In my case, C is making a promise, any promise, okay, made for the benefit of the principal debtor, PD is principal debtor, is a sufficient consideration. Sufficient consideration in the for contract of guarantee. Because अगर तुम देखो ना, you know, like if you see here, okay, there is a consideration between the principal debtor and the creditor. Why? Because principal debtor is taking a loan. Bank is going to charge interest. Correct. So consideration is moving between these two parties. Guarantor is just taking the guarantee of this particular principal debtor. What is he going to get in return? What is the consideration here? Okay, so they are saying that there is no separate consideration required. since the guarantor is already taking a promise, that we will take it as a, so he's taking a promise on behalf, okay, to repay on behalf of the principal debtor, and he's taking the promise for the benefit of the principal debtor. So we will consider this as a consideration for the contract of guarantee. Okay. Now, say suppose under section 128, okay, liability of surety is coextensive with that of principal debtor. Obviously, it is coextensive. It means principal debtor does not pay, then the creditor has a choice. He can either sue the principal debtor directly, or he can directly even sue the surety, because he had taken the surety. So if there is any dishonor in the repayment, immediately creditor has a choice. There is a coextensive liability of both surety and the principal debtor. Okay. Then section 129, under section 129, there is a term known as continuing guarantee. हो सकता है ना, this loan can be for a period of like say 5 years, and this guarantee contract is in such terms that every year you have to renew it. So there can be continuing guarantee in that case. However, this can be revoked. Okay, this can be revoked in case. Okay, how you can revoke it? By giving a notice of revocation. Giving a notice of revocation. So whoever is the guarantor, if he does not want to continue to stay as a guarantor, he can give a notice that he wants to revoke this contract of guarantee. So obviously the surety has to revoke it, no? Or either by the death of surety. Obviously the contract of surety will come to an end. Okay. So this is continuing guarantee. Now there are certain duties. Okay, sorry, certain rights of surety. Okay, what are those rights? Obviously he has a right against the creditor first. Okay, right against the creditor means what? He has a right to take the property or any security which is kept with the creditors. Yes, generally, whenever the banks give loan, they will take some or the other security from the debtor. So if the creditor has taken that security, then obviously surety will also have a right of that security. है ना? Whenever a principal debtor fails to pay, okay, the bank or the creditor, and this bank and creditor has taken money from the surety, immediately the surety comes and stands in the place of a creditor. He has now got all the rights as a creditor to take and kind of take the money from the principal debtor. Okay, he immediately becomes the creditor if he is paying on behalf of the principal debtor. And say if there are more than one sureties, there is surety A, B and C, और पूरा का पूरा C ने पैसा अभी भरा है, okay, full money is paid by C, then C has a full right over A and B to demand their share. Okay, so these are the rights of a surety. Now, last thing in surety is discharge. Discharge of contract of surety. When does it get or come to an end? Okay, firstly, when it is revoked by revocation. Second, I told you by death of the surety, death of surety. Then if there is any variation in the material terms, variation in terms without consent of the surety. All of a sudden, the creditor is giving more loan to the principal debtor and the surety is not aware about it. Yes. Then if the creditor, okay, if the creditor fails to sue the principal debtor within the period of limitation, within the period of limitation, 3 years. 3 years is the limitation period. Okay. Then where creditor makes arrangements with the principal debtor, okay, on personal terms without consent of surety, that contract will get discharged. Okay. Then creditor does any act, okay, against the right of surety, and then again the contract will get discharged. And the lastly, creditor parts up. Okay, creditor parts means he tries to sell off, okay, parts with any security kept with him, security kept with him by principal debtor. So then obviously the contract of surety will come to an end. The surety, the guarantor can say that, sorry, you have done all this without my consent. You had a good security, you parted with the security, you sold it to someone, now you are asking me to pay. I am not going to pay. Okay. So this is contract of guarantee. Indemnity and guarantee is over. Okay. Next one is bailment. Okay. Contract of bailment. Now, in bailment, there is one thing, there is voluntary delivery of goods. Okay, so this voluntary delivery is generally temporary in nature and it is returned back to bailer. So, there are two parties, there is a bailer and there is a bailee. So, say for example, are tailors, okay, to whom you go to stitch any clothes. So, you are the bailer, okay, and bailee is a tailor. Okay, so here the bailer voluntarily delivers the cloth to the bailee, so that temporarily bailee will keep that particular goods and then he will return it back to the bailer. Okay, so here basically the bailee keeps it and performs some art over the goods. Okay, he performs some or the other labor over the goods which was given to him. Now there is a gratuitous bailment. अभी टेलर का एग्जाम्पल तो इट इज नॉन ग्रेटिशियस इन एक्ट. तो टेलर विल टेक, से सपोज फॉर स्टिचिंग अ शर्ट ही विल टेक ₹500 फ्रॉम यू. ही विल गिव यू द शर्ट, यू विल पे हिम 500 and the bailment contract comes to an end. Okay, a gratuitous bailment is something where both bailer and bailee are not entitled for any remuneration. Like example, lending of a book to a friend. Example, lending book to a friend. It is a gratuitous bailment. Okay, gratuitous, out of love and affection. Okay, gratuitous means out of love and affection. So lending a book to a friend is a gratuitous bailment. Tailor example is non-gratuitous in nature. Okay, so here generally in bailment, whatever reward we get, okay, that is known as a remuneration. So when you pay to the tailor, you are paying the remuneration for stitching the shirt. Example, when you rent a car, so you pay the rent for the car. Correct? Now there are duties of Bailey, because the Bailey keeps our goods, no? Temporarily he has the goods, which we have given to him. So his duty is to take care of our goods. Take care of goods. Correct? Second is not to make use of those goods for personal purpose. खुद ने शर्ट बना के अपना खुद पहन रहा है, तो this is not right. Then separate, say suppose he's got the similar type of goods, separate his goods, okay, from the bailor's goods. Okay, do not set up any adverse title. Do not set up any adverse title. Okay, shirt you had given and he gave it to someone else. Okay, you had given the cloth and he gave delivery to someone else. He cannot do that. Fifth, he has to return the goods back. Okay, and if there is any increase in the profit, return with the increase in profit. With increase in profit. Now this is a very funny example. There was this farmer. Okay, he had kept his cow, okay, like a bailment. Okay, he had given his cow to the neighbor. In the neighbor also, he was a farmer only, neighbor farmer. So say farmer A had given his cow to farmer B. Now, why did he give this cow? Because farmer A was going out of that particular, his out of station, or he was going for some work purpose for 2 years, for a period of 1 year. He was not supposed to return. So he had contracted only with me in such a manner that I'm keeping my cow with you. Once I'll be back, I will take it. Now, when he kept this cow, the cow was pregnant. After A had gone, he had delivered a calf. This cow had delivered, she had delivered a calf. So when A returns, it is the duty of B to give both cow plus the calf. He cannot say, hey, you are not there, no, calf was delivered at that time, so I'll keep the calf. No, it's not like there is a case law, okay, in this. There was a case which went in the court for this small calf, okay, because for the farmer, this is everything for them, okay. Also, say suppose where a baler gives goods to Bailey for particular purpose, means stitching of a shirt, in which Bailey has to perform some labor, some skill or labor. Then in that case, Bailey has a right of lien. Bailey has right of lien on those goods. So if you do not pay for that shirt, he will keep that shirt unless and until the payment is done. So that this right of lien is known as particular lien. Okay, lien is something where you retain the goods until the payment for those particular goods has been made. Okay, so lien can be two types. It can be general lien, it can be particular lien. In this case, it is a particular lien. He is keeping that particular shirt with him, okay, until and unless this shirt payment is being done. He will keep it. Once you pay, he will give you back. Sometimes you have general lien. General lien is being exercised like either by the banks, then you have the factors, etc. They exercise general lien. Banks exercise general lien over our accounts. So if I have taken a loan from the bank and I'm not repaying, तो जितना भी balance होगा मेरे account में वो सब ले लेंगे वो. So it's a general lien. So right of lien is nothing but to keep or to retain that goods, okay, for the non-payment of a particular, amount which is being advanced. Then duty of the bailor, duty of bailor. Okay. So in this case, they say that the bailor should disclose all unknown facts about the goods, about the goods. Okay, so say suppose the bailiff is keeping his dog with the bailey for some days or some months, and that dog has a habit of biting any new people he sees. He has to inform that. Okay, then the bailiff has to pay any extraordinary expenses which are incurred by the bailey. Okay, then if any loss is caused to the bailey because of the acts of the bailiff or the goods which he kept with the bailey, then he has to indemnify the bailey. Okay, these are the three duties of the bailor. And last is the termination of bailment. Termination of bailment. Termination, okay, where bailey wrongfully waives or disposes the goods bailed. Okay, he has given it to someone else. Then object of bailment is achieved. Okay, means the performance is done. Okay, and in case of a gratuitous bailment, if it was a gratuitous bailment, then there is no money to be paid, there is no remuneration. So in that case, generally, you lend the books and after some time you get it back, the bailment gets over. Here, either by death of either of the party, either of the bailor or bailey. Okay, because that is an event which is bound to happen at any point of time, which we don't know. Okay, now there is one thing in bailment which is important apart from this. Okay, there is one thing which is really, really important: finder of lost goods. Finder of lost goods is as good as a contract of bailment. Now how does that happen? Okay, he becomes a bailey. He becomes a bailey. Okay, he can sue if any reward is specified. Okay, so if you have given an advertisement, okay, in the newspaper, that whoever will find my dog, I'm going to pay rupees 10,000. So he can sue for the reward if it is specified. He may even retain, okay, the goods until reward is paid. Okay, but if there is no reward, if no reward, then he at least has a compensation. He has to be paid compensation for expenses also which he has incurred. Simple सा example ले लो. Say suppose you had forgotten your cell phone, okay, your mobile, in a taxi cab. Okay, now that must have fallen down. Now that cab fellow had dropped you at, say, church gate. Since then your mobile phone is in his taxi. He reached Virar until afternoon. Okay, after which he found your phone, he called you up. Okay, and he told you, and you told him that please come and give me my phone. He said okay, but you will have to pay me compensation. You have to give me expense for the entire petrol, because which is been going to go from Virar till there. You will be paying him. Okay, you have to pay him. Okay, however, he cannot sue or file any kind of a case for recovery of the possession. Okay, he cannot file any case saying that this is now my mobile phone. No, he can file a case for the damages incurred, for the compensation which he requires for expenses incurred, all that. Okay, next is, say suppose the finder has the right also to sell the property, right to sell the property, in which cases where owner cannot be found only, then what can he do? So he can sell that particular property. Where the owner refuses to pay lawful charges, then of course he can again sell that particular uh, property. Okay, and goods are in perishable, owner cannot be found, and also goods are in perishable nature. Goods are of perishable in nature. Okay, there is this example of carriers and innkeepers. Okay, they are also bailey. Okay, innkeepers are these hotel management people. Okay, so they have a right of lien also on your all the goods which you have kept, it your luggage, etc. Okay, and if in case they are also they are treated to be as a bailey. If in case there is something perishable in nature, they are not able to find the owner, they have a right to sell that particular goods or the property. All right, moving to the next contract, I'm sorry, that is mm, okay, contract of pledge, pawn. Okay, it is also known as pawn. Here, article or a object or a movable property. Okay, any article is deposited with the lender. There is one lender who lends you money. Okay, so that lender is saying that you have to keep some security. So say example, you keep your watch and he lends you rupees 5,000. Okay, so there is an article which is deposited with the lender as a security for repayment of loan. For repayment of loan. Okay, so you have two parties. You have a pawner and a pawnee. Pawnee is nothing, he is the lender. Okay, and the person who delivers the property is known as the pawnee. So here the property is also delivered to the pawnee. Property delivered to pawnee. And the pledge, okay, the contract of pledge is in such a manner, in law it is written only in such a manner that once this money is paid, the pawnee has to, it is his duty to give back the article, give back the watch. Otherwise, the pawnee can sue him. Okay, so the right of the pawnee is until right of pawnee, the one who lends money, is to retain the possession of the goods, retain possession, okay, until loan is repaid. After that, he cannot. Also, he can file a suit. Okay, he can file a suit for the recovery of the money. Okay, he can sell the goods, but before selling he has to give a notice to the pawn. Okay, and if any surplus is left, if any surplus is left, he must repay. He must repay to the pawn. So say that watch which he was given, okay, ये watch उसने बेचा तो उसको मिले ₹7,000. Okay, and the loan amount is only 5,000. So he can retain 5, and any surplus here is 2,000 rupees. He has to refund it back to the pawn. Okay, and rights of the pawn. Right of pawn. He has a right of redemption. He has a right to file suit for redemption. Redemption means to take back that particular goods, to take back that particular article which he has kept. Also, if any damages are caused to his article, damages or any conversion made to his article, he can file a suit for the same. Say the pawner had given a gold coin, okay, as a security for the loan, but this pawnee took this gold coin and he made earrings out of it. So here the pawner can file a suit for the damages and for the conversion made by the pawnee in the goods. The pawnee does not have any right of converting the goods. Okay, he has to keep it as it is. Now, lastly, law of agency. Okay, fifth one, E.
Ma'am, can you just please check the slide? Check
Law
some.
of agency. Yes, sure.
Yeah, ma'am, done.
Okay. Now, law of agency, it is there is a definition first of agent. Okay, under section 182. Okay, it is a person, an agent is a person employed to bring his principal, to bring his principal into contractual relations with third parties, with third parties. He is known as an agent. If you all know this, Tupperware, then Olay products, all that is an agency product. No, you take an agency of that particular product. Okay. For example, I also had an agency of Tupperware. So what I used to do is I used to bring Tupperware. Tupperware is the principal. Okay. I used to bring these Tupperware products, okay, in awareness to the people, like, okay, this is Tupperware, these are the plastic bottles, etc., this, that, if you buy this much you get this much discount, okay, all the advantages of that particular product, okay, and I used to sell those products and I used to get commission. Okay, there was no compulsion on selling. Okay, as and when I will get the order, I will take the goods from Tupperware and sell it, and how much ever I have sold, say I used to get 10% commission, so say on 10,000 rupees, okay, sale price, I will get 10% commission, 1,000 rupees. Okay, so agent is nothing but he is employed by his principal, okay, to bring his principal himself into contractual relations with the third party. Now, in case of law of agency under section 185, it is specifically been told that consideration here is not essential. consideration is not essential in the law of agency. And under section 186, okay, it is an expressed, or you can say implied. It can be express law of agency, or it can be implied by the acts of the parties. When you want to make an express law of agency, you make a power of attorney. You give the power to your agent to sell the products on your behalf, to resemble himself as if he is the principal. Okay, so you can have expressed or implied. So expressed, when you do, you make a power of attorney itself. All right. Now, what is implied agency? Okay, implied agency. In agency by estoppel. Okay, estoppel we have already seen even in Partnership Act. Okay, where a partner is also being estopped from denying, where if he has, already created an impression on the minds of the people that he's a partner of this firm, he's a partner of this firm. Partners are again agents of the firm. Partners are agents and principal amongst themselves. So agent by estoppel is an implied agency. Then next is wife as an agent of husband. Okay, so say wife and husband, they both living together. So here generally law says that the wife has the authority. Wife is assumed to have husband's authority. Husband's authority. Okay, for buying any necessities, etc. Okay, from a particular person, purchases of necessity from a creditor. Purchase of necessities from a creditor.
Ma'am,
Huh?
ma'am, but in this case, even if the husband or the wife, anyone, if they do not complete that necessity, whatever is required, they cannot file a case, na?
Complete the necessity means?
Like just now you said that wife has an assumed authority that
Huh.
she can ask the husband for her purchases and several things, right?
Yeah.
So in such case, even if she can ask him, she cannot file a case if not completed, right?
Yeah, but now this is actually very theoretical. It does not really happen now. It was, it is, if you see, it's a very old act. So initially what it was, that obviously husband, it is said to be a patriarchal world, especially India, okay, wherein husband only has the authority of doing everything. So if wife is supposed to go and buy some products from a local shop where the husband has an account running, okay, so it is said that wife is like an agent of the husband.
Yeah.
Right
Okay.
now all this does not happen. Okay,
Okay.
if
Okay.
you see today's world, today online system which is happening, nothing comes for free. There is no credit as such. Even if you are buying anything on credit, it is not actually any credit, you paying interest over it.
Yeah. Yes,
Correct.
ma'am.
So this is just theoretical. I'm doing this because it is there in your text, in your law, so you should not get confused. Then you have agency by necessity. Now you did not have an option and you had to take care of a particular thing, necessity. Then, and lastly, agency by ratification. Agency by ratification. Okay, now agency by necessity, what does that mean? How do you become an agent due to necessity? Say for example, okay, agent by necessity. Okay, example, say A had sent a horse, okay, by railway carriage. Okay, now when the horse deliver was, when he arrived at that, at the station where he had to be delivered. Okay, Nobody came to receive that particular horse, came to take the delivery. So now what will the railway authorities do of that particular station? They will not kill the horse, no? They will have, they are bound to take care, bound to take care of that property. Similarly, it happens in case of customs, right? Sometimes when the goods arrive, even via the ship the goods arrive, and some particular person is not come to take the delivery, you will not take the goods and burn it, no? So you become an agent by necessity, okay, who is bound to take reasonable care of that particular property, okay. And agent by necessity is done. Agent by ratification, what does that mean? Agent by ratification, okay. Here, see, agent has a particular authority, but if he exceeds his authority, then the principle will not be binding. Agent will have to fill up the loss and give, okay. But if he is exceeding his authority and principal is okay with it, principal later ratifies, means he agrees. Ratifies means agrees. Later ratifies it, then obviously it is known as a agency by ratification, okay, which is also known as a ex post facto agency. However, there are certain conditions in agency by ratification. First, okay, the agent must expressly contract as the agent of his principal. If he is doing anything in his personal capacity, then this will not come, okay, agency by ratification. Then the principal is not only competent at the time when A acted beyond its authority, agent acted beyond its authority, but also at the time of ratification. At the time of ratification. Okay. So since it is an ex post facto, later on ratification ho raha hai, so the principal must be competent at the time also when the agent had done that particular act, and at the time of ratification also he has to be competent, okay. C, principal has been given the full knowledge of the facts, okay, and thus he is ratifying. And yes, obviously ratification needs to happen within reasonable time period. Like after 2-3 years you will ratify a particular act or what? No, no. So it has to be a reasonable time period. Also, that ratification should not be to injure any right of the third party. Injure any right of third party. ऐसा कोई ratification नहीं करना चाहिए. Okay, and only lawful acts can be ratified. Only lawful acts can be ratified. Okay, so say suppose this principal had appointed an agent, okay, to do collection on his behalf, collection from the debtors. Okay, now this one particular debtor, he was not paying only, so A shot him dead. So and this is an illegal act. This kind of acts cannot be ratified. They are void in nature. Okay, now there are certain types of agents, classes of agents. Classes of agents. Okay, एक सबसे one is like a special agent, okay, for that specific work, okay, only for that specific work you have appointed. You want to sell your house, okay, in India, so you have just appointed one agent or broker for that particular house only. Second, there can be a general agent, Okay, like a partner, he's a general agent, he does all the acts which are necessary for carrying on the business of the firm. Then you can have a sub-agent. Okay, in case of sub-agent, principal is responsible for all the acts of the agent, but principal is not responsible for any acts of the sub-agent. Huh? Your agent now becomes the principal for this particular sub-agent. Okay? Then you have these mercantile agents who sell goods on behalf of their principals, mercantile agents. Then you have factors. Factors are nobody, but they are like banks only. Okay, they basically provide service for collection of debtors, collection of money from your debtors. So big companies, okay, who have got so many ample of debtors, okay, they cannot kind of constantly keep calling the debtors and reminding for their payment and taking care of that entire, database. So they sell their debtors to the factors. What do the factors do? They advance money, okay, to their client. So say suppose your debtors is of 1 lakh, they will deduct their fees 10%. Okay, 10% fees they will deduct 10,000 rupees, and 90,000 they will advance it to the client, and rest all the work will be done by the factors. Right? Then we have brokers. Then we have a Delcred agents. Delcred agents are those agents, they are special agents, like they take commission, but they charge a little extra commission. Why? Because they are also ready to take the guarantee of the third party, of third party. Okay, so say example, this principal had given some goods to the agent. Now what did the agent do? He sold these goods on credit, okay, to Mr. X. Now principal is saying, bhai, you are selling it on credit, what if he does not pay? So he's like, no, I am taking the guarantee, no, you do not worry, I am taking the guarantee of the credit of this third party. However, since I am taking the guarantee, I will charge an extra commission, which will be known as a Del Cred commission. Okay? Next, we all know about auctioneers. Auctioneers are also agents. They are selling others' goods. Okay, partners are agents, and bankers are also our agents. Right? Okay, so these are the types of agents. Then we have termination of agency. Last thing, last topic, termination of agency. Okay, either the performance for which the principal and agent got together is completed, then both the principal and agent have agreed to terminate. Okay, the expiry of period, they had come together only for a period of 12 months or 24 months, that period has been expired. Either there is a debt of the principal and agent, okay, then either principal and agent, any one of them has become insolvent. Okay, insolvency, or they have become insane, not competent to contract, where say principal or the agent is a corporate and that particular corporate is dissolved, wind up, then the subject matter is destroyed for which they had entered into this agency contract. That subject matter itself is destroyed. Then the agent has renounced, okay, renunciation of his authority, he doesn't want to be the agent of that particular principal. Okay, and the lastly, there is a revocation of authority by the principal. Authority by the principal. However, in case of revocation, there is an exception. Okay, they say when agency is irrevocable, there are three instances in which you cannot revoke this agency once you have entered into. First, okay, is here the agent has incurred, he has already incurred some personal liability, okay, on behalf of the principal. So if he has incurred any personal liability, now the principal cannot revoke this particular agency. So where agent has incurred any personal liability. Second, okay, authority is partly exercised, already partly exercised. So in between you cannot revoke, partly exercised by the agent. Okay, partly exercised. And last, where the authority is coupled with interest. That means the agent himself has some interest on that particular subject matter. So say there are Mr. X and Mr. Y. They are co-owners of a villa. Okay, now Mr. X, he is basically staying out of India. Okay, he has kind of, by his actions and words, he has made Y as an agent, okay, to find a particular buyer of this villa and sell it. Okay, and sell it. Obviously, Mr. Y has also got a interest in that particular property. Okay, so in that case, any kind of agency cannot be revoked. All right, so this was law of agency. I'll just take you all quickly to the notes, what you all have to do. Okay, even if you all do this much, whatever I have explained you all in each of this special contract, nothing like it. Indemnity and guarantee, definition and meaning, nature of the contract of indemnity, you can do section 124 and then give an example. Then rights of the indemnity holder, you can read it. Nothing much to be done. Contract of guarantee, you need to know the definition and the meaning along with an example. Okay. Kinds of the guarantee contract, nothing to be done, only read it. And continuing guarantee, I have already done with you all. This is all. Nature or extent of the surety's liability, read. The surety's liability is coextensive with that of the principal debtor. Then when does the contract of surety get discharged and the rights of the surety. Then guarantee, when it is invalid or when it is void, this is read. Then difference between, this is important, they generally ask this, difference between contract of indemnity and contract of guarantee. Then coming to bailment and pledge, do it along with this example, you are done. Then the characteristics is the same thing like the meaning. So you don't have to do that again. Types of bailment, gratuitous, non-gratuitous, two words. Gratuitous, it does not have any remuneration. Non-gratuitous, there is a reward. Rights and duties of the bailer, rights and duties of the bailee. What is the meaning of lien? Types of lien, there is a particular lien and there is a general lien. Directly come here. What is a particular lien and what is a general lien, the difference between them. This they will ask you for 3 marks. Then coming to the contract of pledge, what is the meaning and the example. Then you have rights of the pawner and pawnee. Distinguish between, if you'll find trouble in doing the entire chapter, no, even if you all will do the distinguish, no, you will understand all these contracts, special contracts. Okay, so this is again important for 3 marks. Law of agency, what is the meaning of agency? Okay, and the principle. Salient features is read. How you can create agency is also read. Modes of creating, either it can have express and implied. In implied we did implied agency by estoppel. Okay, implied agency by holding out is the same thing. Agency by necessity, agency by ratification. Okay, extent of the agent's authority, you can even skip it. If you read it also, it is okay. Duties and obligations of the duty of an agent, duty rights of an agent, this is also only read. They really don't ask anything of such sort. Okay, this is also read only once and you can leave it. Liability of the principal to the third party, yes, you can do this. They can ask this for a short note. Obviously always the principal only is liable to the third party and not the agent. Termination of agency and irrevocable agency. Then who is a sub-agent? A substituted agent. Only two lines. Okay, what is a sub-agent? 2 lines each. Who is a substituted agent? Then now we have all electronic contracts. This they ask for 3 marks. What is electronic? All the contracts in which offer, acceptance, consideration, everything is created online. Joint ventures, foreign collaboration, multinational agreements. Again, this is only for 3 marks in case if they ask. So you just need to know what is a joint venture. Joint venture has all the features of the firm. 2 firms also can come together and have a joint venture for a particular work or adventure to be completed. You can have foreign collaboration. You can have multinational agreements between one country and another. So this is it. All right. So with this, I complete my Indian Contract Act. Okay. Thank you so much.